The question that I have for you, kind of like in this theme, is around like your decision to shut down Capway. Because one thing I really loved about Capway was that it wasn't just that you were trying to serve the unbanked and the underbanked, right? Like I remember when you and I did the Forbes interview, you talked explicitly about how these users that you were trying to solve and build a product for were very much like your family members, right? Your aunties,
Sure.
your uncles, right? Even me thinking about my own dad and like money in the mattresses, right? Like
Yeah.
I think about that a lot. And when you are so connected to the problem that you're trying to solve, sometimes it's difficult to let go of a vision that you had for something
Yeah.
because you really want it to work, right? And so, what were the conditions that were happening at the time where you were like, you know what, it's time for me to walk away from Capway and shut it down?
Yeah, so it definitely wasn't I didn't volunteer to be like, "Yep, time to shut it down." It wasn't. I didn't lose the passion. I'm still to this day very passionate about fintech in general. Capway shut down. So what most people don't know about digital banks is no digital bank is an actual bank themselves. I think there's only one, which is Varo. Every bank, Cash App, Chime, PayPal, anytime you see a digital bank, you get the little card, it's a digital bank. If you go to the bottom of the website or if you flip that card over, there's going to be who the sponsor bank is for that. There's always a bank behind the digital bank because digital banks don't have, they're not chartered. They're not federally chartered. We are considered programs of a charter bank, which most people just don't know that. So people think I'm banking with Cash App. No, you're really banking with whoever is their charter, whoever's their sponsor bank. Years ago, Rush Card, you're from New York, and everybody was like, oh my gosh, Rush Card stole my money. It really wasn't Rush Card. It was the sponsor bank that was behind Rush Card that the issues were there. I mean, Rush Card played a role, but it was some stuff that happened in between. So most people don't know that though, because they think they're banking with Chime. You're not banking with Chime. Like Chime doesn't hold your money. Some like a sponsor bank holds your money. So I say that to say with Capway, we had a sponsor bank clearly because it's required. It's federally regulated, and we everything for Capway was set up as a debit program, which is an important thing to note. Debit people think debit and prepaid are the same. They're not. They're very similar. Prepaid, debit, and debit have a lot of the same similarities, but there are everything things like your compliance paperwork is different. Like there are your funds flow is different. There are pieces that are different inside of it. We were set up as a debit program. We went through an audit, and our audit came back that we had been set up through the CFPB as a prepaid program. And so pretty much the CFPB said, hey, you have to change everything to either operate as a prepaid program or you're going to have to completely start back over to be a debit program, which happens, by the way. Unfortunately, happens. The problem is now we're going into 2022, 2023, when funding has completely dried up. So even to raise what we raised was almost unheard of for fintech, which wasn't a lot, by the way. We didn't raise $10, $20 million. But in order to pretty much restructure the entire program, would have taken $2 or $3 million to go out to our investors or new investors and say, I need $2 million to restructure this program. Well, I was like, it wasn't going to happen. Nobody was even giving out money anyway. So it wasn't attraction. It wasn't. We definitely had real users. And I say that because a lot of fintech users are not real. They're nothing but fraud rings, and people inflate their numbers. And that's one thing as a founder I just refuse to do. And it's funny because we were both friends with Evan, from this Credit Academy, who I love, by the way. And when we talk just as fintech founders, I'm like, I tell them all the time, I was like, you gotta be okay with yourself when you look at yourself in the mirror. Because when somebody says I have 100,000 users, they may have 100,000 users, but probably 80,000 is fraud or fraud rings. So technically they have 20,000. I always went in with our real numbers.
Yeah.
And whether they hurt me or didn't, I'm okay with looking at Sheena in the mirror. So we had the numbers. I always spoke about real numbers, spoke about real traction. But between funding drying up, Greenwood was an issue, which I have no problem with, just being honest and transparent. Because a lot of investors were saying, oh, well, you're coming in to raise $3 million to restructure, but Greenwood's raised $60 million already. So kind of like, what's the point of us giving you $3 million when you're $57 million behind the eight ball? And I would go and I'm like, we're not the same company.
Yeah.
Besides the fact we have a debit card and it's a black founder, there is nothing else about our companies that are the same. Even our ecosystem was very, very different. We had from the very beginning, it was like, how do we do global expansion? Because this underserved market is even much bigger than the U.S. So everything was totally different from the two companies. But I said, if someone talking to someone who was a Brown founder, they feel like it can only be one. Like no one told Lyft it's like, oh, it's a white guy that has Uber already, like we can't fund you.
Right.
But in our space, there's already a black founder that has a debit card that's already raised more. Like we're probably it's probably not a good fit for us. But unfortunately, that's just what we dealt with. And so it came to the point of like, companies need oxygen, and oxygen is money.
Yeah.
And we ran out of oxygen, which means if you can't breathe, you die.
Yeah.
And so that was the shutdown of Capway.
Thanks for tuning in to today's episode of Behind the Work. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure that you subscribe to our channel on YouTube. Check us out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and follow us on social media. I'm really looking forward to seeing and hearing how this show is leaving an impact on you.